In this video, let's see about exception handling. Imagine you are managing a e-commerce store. What happens if a customer tries to place an order and the payment system crashes? Without proper exception handling, your entire application might fail, causing lost sales and frustrated users. Let's dive into how Java handles such scenarios. Exception handling in Java allows you to gracefully handle errors, ensuring your application remains robust and user-friendly. There are two main types of exceptions. First one, checked exception. The second one, unchecked exception. Let's see about checked exception. These are the exceptions that the compiler checks during compile time. You must handle them using try catch or declare them using throws. Example, IO exceptions, SQL exceptions. Here is the example program which is handle the checked exception using try and hatch. So inside the try, I have written the business logic to read the file, and inside the catch, if any exceptions occurred, I am printing the message for the error. That's it. And next, let's see about unchecked exception. These occur at a runtime and are not checked during compilation. So examples, null pointer exception, arithmetic exception, array index bound of exception, those are. So here's the example. Just imagine we are having the calculate total class method. Inside that, there is one array parameter, we are passing it in that method prices. I'm going to print that array index of 5 without adding the value of the prices because that is empty. Okay, so maybe it throws the array index bound of exception, right? So we need to handle it before we need to check that length of prices. Okay, then print the based on a length we have to print it, mean we can avoid this exception. Let's see how to handle this from as a beginner, as an experienced person, how to handle these exceptions. First thing, we can use try catch to handle errors. An experienced approach in an organization, you are using the handling the custom exceptions using the at controller advice annotations. Actually, we are creating this separate class for exception handling and implement the global exception handling using at controller advice in Spring Boot. Okay, so for that we need this dependency in our POM. So Spring Boot starter web, and then inside the exception handler class you can mention this issue to extend with runtime exception class. Then you can mention the message and you can print the super message. And if it is a controller where it's throwing, right, so there you can use it at exception controller. Here you have to pass the class name which is handling the exception, so it will automatically handle the exception when it's occurred. Okay, if it is order not found exception, so it will automatically throw the message from this exception class. So like this I can able to add other class as well. So there is an exception class also there, so you can mention it and handle general exception. If I need to handle the general exception, so it will comes all in under the exception handler, right? So that's why we used add exception handler notation with that exception class name, and we are returning the exception message and HTTP server status. That's it. Like this we have to use it in the organization. So if suppose interviewer asks the question like how would you handle the custom exception or global exception, you have to explain this process in a right manner because they won't expect the basic level knowledge, they are expecting the experience level knowledge. Okay, if suppose interviewer asked about the checked and unchecked exception, you have to explain the difference between checked and unchecked exception clearly. Mention how to implement custom exception in a real world project. That is most important thing. And highlight your ability to manage errors gracefully using global exception handling. How good you are handling those, right? So you have to mention it clearly. And then by mastering exception handling, you ensure your application remains stable and user friendly even in unpredictable scenarios. Okay. Next, we will explore the advanced Java concepts that take your coding skills to the next level. Let's see the most commonly asked interview questions in exception handling. Question number 1. Can you explain checked and unchecked exceptions with examples? Sure. In Java, exceptions are classified into checked exception and unchecked exceptions. Checked exception, these are compile time exception, meaning the compiler forces us to handle them using try, catch, and throws. Unchecked exceptions, these occur at runtime and are not checked during compilation. Real-time example for checked exception. Let's say a user enters wrong payment details and we need to handle this gracefully. Here I'm having the class payment processing, and inside that I'm having a method process payment and having the payment method parameter. It throws the IO exception when that payment method equal to null. So if suppose we are not passing any payment method, it will throws the invalid payment method message with IO exception. Since IO exception is a checked exception, we must use throws or handle it with try catch. Then next see about unchecked exceptions, runtimes exception. Now, let's say a customer tries to access a product that does not exist. So, I'm having a class product catalog and creating arguments product array and passing the value for that array and having a method get product and passing the argument index. So, I'm checking that index value. So, if I'm printing the index, actually that products array having the size of 2, I'm printing the array of 3 means it will throw the array index out of bound exception. So if a customer requests a product at an invalid index, Java will throw an unchecked exception, that is array index out of bound exception at runtime. So checked exception like IO exception must be handled. Unchecked exception like null pointer exception, array index out of bound exception occurred at runtime and don't require mandatory handling. Then let's move on to next question. Question number 2. How to handle custom exception and global exceptions? In Java, we can create custom exception when we need to handle specific business logic errors. For example, in an e-commerce system, if a user tries to purchase an out-of-stock product, we can create a custom exception for that. Here, I'm creating a class out-of-stock exception, which is extension exception class, and inside that I'm having a method out-of-stock exception and passing the exception message, and creating one more class called order service. Inside that I'm having place order method which is having quantity argument. Also I'm mentioning throws and out of stock exception here. So I'm handling here like if quantity greater than 5, I'm manually throwing that out of stock exception. So this is called custom exception. So if a user tries to buy more than 5 times, our custom exception out of stock exception will be thrown. Then let's see how to handle global exception. In a real world Spring Boot application, we don't want to write try catch everywhere. Instead, use global exception handling with @controller advice annotation. So here I'm having the exception handler class which is annotated with @controller advice, and inside that I'm having the exception handling method. Okay, that method name is handle out of stock. Okay. I'm putting the annotation at exception handler of and then mentioning the exception, okay, which exception I need to handle it. Then I'm returning the response with the exception message. and HTTP status. So this is the thing in organizations are following to handle the exception. Okay, they won't follow the try and hatch, so they are following the global exception handling. Now, if any controller throws out of stack exception, this global handler will automatically handle it. So custom exceptions are created for specific business logic issues. Global exception handling reduces redundant error handling code. That's it. Next, move on. Question number 3. What is the difference between throw and throws? Throw and throws are both used for exception handling, but they are different. Throw used to explicitly throw an exception inside a method. Throws used in a method signature declare that an exception might be thrown. Let's see the example. Using throw, suppose a customer is trying to apply an invalid discount coupon. Here, I'm having the class discount service. Inside that, I'm having a method apply discount, passing the argument coupon. I'm checking that coupon is given value or not, and if it is not, I'm throwing the illegal argument exception. Okay, otherwise I'm printing it's applied successfully. Here, if user enters wrong coupon, we explicitly throw illegal argument exception using throw keyword. Let's use the throws keyword. Suppose we are processing a refund request where an exception might occur. So I'm having a class refund service. Inside, I'm having a method process refund, and which is having the argument amount, and I'm mentioning throws and IO exception in the method signature itself. So inside that I'm handling if amount less than equal to 0, I'm throwing the IO exception with the message. Okay, so since IO exception is checked exception, we declare it in the method signature using throws. So this is the key difference between throw and throws keyword. Okay, so simply remember it. Throw is used for throw an exception. Throws declare exception that a method might throw. That's it. And this is how you can confidently answer this important Java interview questions with the real world examples. Okay, now practice these answers, let them to your own projects, and yes, your Java interview. Okay. To drive depot and master Java, Spring Boot, REST APIs, and real-time microservices, check out my full Udemy course with a lifetime access. The link is in the description. Enroll now and start building real Java projects today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if this helped you, and tag your friends who is preparing for Java interviews. Thanks for watching.